Often, all it takes to have a complete transformation in your life is one word, one sentence, or even one single idea that instantly changes everything for the better. It's called the ripple effect. It's the exact moment when a powerful idea makes an impact which transforms your life and sends waves of change through your soul, and then it travels beyond you and sweeps across the planet. Get ready. This could be your moment. The one that you have been looking for within your heart that connects the dots. Listen to the wisdom of these inspired guests and experience wave after wave of positive energy. Starting now, The Ripple Effect with your host, Kristen White.
Yes, that's right. You're listening to The Ripple Effect, where we focus on businesses and individuals who are making a powerful and positive impact on the planet. But how does that start? How do we make a positive impact? Where do we get that idea? Well, the answer is innovation. And my guest today is an expert in this very topic. He is a well-known author. He has written several books: Goal-Free Living, The Little Book of Big Innovation Ideas. One of my personal favorites is Personality Poker. And he has a new book out that's called Best Practices Are Stupid. He's spoken to audiences in over 40 different countries and worked with businesses like 3M, Nike, Marriott, Microsoft to help them with innovation. And Steve Shapiro, thanks for being here on The Ripple Effect.
It is my pleasure.
So what is innovation and how do we either have it or not have it?
Well, I think everyone has the capacity to be innovative. I think the question is, in what way? So to me, innovation, at least for a business, is really, it's not about the idea. That's a part of it. It's really about the value that gets created. Innovation is about adaptability. It's about your ability to adapt, evolve, and change as market conditions change, as the world changes, as demographics change. So as the world changes, we need to change at a faster pace. We know the world's changing pretty fast.
Yeah, exactly. So when we are looking at a business, what gets in the way of people being innovative?
There are a few things that get in the way. First of all, there's a belief that we can innovate everything, and that's a big mistake. So one of my strong beliefs is that you only want to innovate where you differentiate. Differentiation means it's the thing that sets you apart from everyone else. It is difficult for others to replicate. Therefore, you could really claim it as your own, and extremely important, it is something that the world wants. Because if the world doesn't want it, being different is not the same thing as being differentiated. Differentiated means creating something that the world values. Once you do that, then you have to have the right process in place. And I think the biggest mistake that people make is they confuse creativity and innovation. I think creativity has killed innovation. We don't need more ideas. What we need are better solutions to important problems. That, to me, is the key to innovation.
You know, I love this because this is really, your last book is a lot about this. The best practices are stupid. Like, we think that we need more ideas. We think we need more creativity. We think we need a lot of things. And actually, we're getting caught up in a myth. And what practices actually are stupid and which ones are innovative?
Well, we hear the thing, think outside the box. That's sort of the mantra of so many different companies. But in fact, that dissipates our energies. The issue is not the breadth of your thinking. So instead of thinking outside the box, what I strongly believe is that you want to find a better box. We're looking in the wrong place for solutions. We're solving the wrong problems. Einstein reputedly said, if I had an hour to save the world, I would spend 59 minutes defining the problem, 1 minute finding solutions. And most of us are running around working on problems or solutions that really aren't important. So to me, one of the most important myths to break is this think outside the box. Another myth is expertise is important. Expertise is important, but for breakthroughs, expertise is actually the enemy of innovation. Because the more we know about a problem or a topic, the more difficult it is for us to think differently about it. So what I encourage people to do are a couple of things which sort of counteract those. One is to identify challenges and reframe those challenges many times. Change the question. The way you ask a question has a profound impact on the solutions that you'll get. And then when you're looking for solutions, don't go just to the experts. Look to people from different areas of expertise. Ask yourself who else has solved a problem like this, maybe in a fundamentally different place.
Yeah, I think those are all really solid ideas that people can build upon. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Steve Shapiro here on The Ripple Effect.
You are listening to The Ripple Effect with Kristen White. To learn more about Kristen White, you can visit her at KristenWhite.net.
What do you have to say? Who do you want to impact? Get your copy of Kristen White's #1 international bestseller, Voice: How to Share Your Message, Your Products, and Your Business with the World. Available at therippleshow.com. And while you're there, grab your free Insider Media Expert on-camera tips at therippleshow.com.
Thank you for listening to The Ripple Effect. Together, we can impact the planet in powerful ways. The first easy step is to subscribe to this podcast to receive new inspiration from our thought-provoking guests every week. Visit therippleshow.com to subscribe now. Again, that's therippleshow.com.
So, Steve, we've been talking about innovation in businesses. How can we use innovation in our personal lives?
Well, I think in our personal life, one of the things we always want to look at is what is the contribution we're making to the world. Because I do believe that this is it's a form of innovation, and it's a form of what gives us satisfaction. I think that we as human beings at some level desire to create value for the world, because in the process of doing that, it creates value for us. And although this seems like a bit of a tangent, I think it's related. Yeah, I've been studying a lot in terms of what has people perform at their highest levels. And I'm working on a book called The Performance Paradox. And what we find is paradoxically, the harder we work, in many cases, the worse our results. And there's one study which I think is just very fascinating, which they looked at the correlation between happiness and money. And what they found was that people who had more money were happier. Now, that may lead us to believe that happiness is the result of money, but in fact, the researchers found exactly the opposite. Happiness was the cause of wealth. So what ended up happening was people who had a better attitude towards life, who felt as though they were contributing more, actually attracted wealth to themselves without having to work hard.
That's interesting. I mean, I think that really, again, goes back to this mythology that we have in our society that, hard work pays off and eventually you'll have money and then you can be happy. And we're taught that it goes in that order. And so what you're saying is that in fact, none of that is true.
Well, look, we do have to work. I mean, things don't just fall in our lap, but there's this belief that an hour of work gives me an hour of result, and that's not true. There are some activities where an hour of work will give you an hour of result. Some cases, we do an hour of work and it gives us no result or a negative result. And there are things that we can do where we can work for 1 hour and get 100 hours of benefit out of it. So it's this concept of leverage. Like, what are the things that we can do that will actually give us the greatest results with the least amount of energy? In a lot of cases, we've misplaced and misdirected our energies on activities that give us linear results rather than exponential results.
Okay, so if I'm one of the listeners and I want to get exponential results in my life, I want to leverage, how do we identify where that point in our life to put that energy would be?
There's so many different ways. I think one of the first things, this is just my strongly held belief based on 100 years of science that supports it, is don't get too focused on the future. One of the things that happens is I have a book, as you know, called Goal-Free Living. We get so focused on the future that we forget that there are opportunities right in front of us. And so one of the tips in Goal-Free Living is just remember that opportunity always knocks, just sometimes softly. And we are usually just so blindly driven towards achieving our goals that we miss out the fact that maybe the goal was the wrong goal. We had the goal for the wrong reason, or the path to that goal wasn't the right path. So I'm a big believer in what I call meandering with purpose. And meandering with purpose means how can you be present moment focused, have a sense of direction, not a specific destination, and allow life to unfold, and you course correct frequently, changing direction as you get new information.
God, I love the way that sounds. I can't think of anything that has been more frustrating for myself or other people I know than to have a goal and finally get there and realize, why did I want this? I think higher education is a good example of that. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back in just a moment.
You are listening to The Ripple Effect with Kristen White. To learn more about Kristen White, you can visit her at KristenWhite.net.
What do you have to say? Who do you want to impact? Get your copy of Kristen White's #1 international bestseller, Voice, How to Share Your Message, Your Products, and Your Business with the World. Available at therippleshow.com. And while you're there, grab your free Insider Media Expert on-camera tips at therippleshow.com.
Thank you for listening to The Ripple Effect. Together, we can impact the planet in powerful ways. The first easy step is to subscribe to this podcast to receive new inspiration from our thought-provoking guests every week. Visit therippleshow.com to subscribe now. Again, that's therippleshow.com.
So before the break, we were talking about meandering with purpose and goal-free living. You know, what do you do, Steve, when you get to a point you're like, gosh, I think I've been chasing the wrong destination or the wrong dream? How do we shift gears then?
Boy, and that is all too common. We did some studies, and we find that most people are actually living someone else's dream, not their own dream. And so part of it is to, first of all, recognize you just can't throw away everything you've done, because that's not leverage. Leverage is, how do we leverage what we've done in the past and move it in the direction that we want to go in the future? And so it's not like a 180-degree turn. Maybe it's a 20, 30, 40-degree turn from where we are. So the first thing is to, first of all, just recognize you need to live life in your own terms, sometimes easier said than done, and then really start taking an assessment of what you're good at, what you love to do, and what creates value for the world. So to me, this is sort of the trifecta that we're looking for, which is what we're skilled at, what we're good at, what we love to do, and what creates value for the world. And if we can find the intersection of those three things, we then have the opportunity to change our course into something that will actually create value for us in terms of income and satisfaction.
And I want to go back to something that you said earlier during the interview, where you talk about the place to innovate is where you can really make a distinct impact. Like, know that zone, because that's where there's a lot of opportunity for you and for leverage, because once you make that impact, like the show is called The Ripple Effect, you can make those ripples of transformation in that area where you can really excel. How important is that?
I think it's incredibly important, especially today. Technology has democratized everything. And what I mean by that is everyone has an opinion, and everyone has a vehicle for being able to voice that opinion, whether it's a self-published book, whether it is a YouTube channel, whether it is a blog. There's a million channels. So what we need to do is recognize just because we have something to say doesn't mean anyone's going to hear us. Differentiation is not the only thing, but I think it's a critical part of separating yourself from everyone else, standing out from the crowd, having something important to say and something distinctive to say that the world values and that solves the pains that the world has right now.
Let's talk about innovation and actual physical products or services or businesses. I mean, how does that translate? You get this idea, or you have this area where you feel like, wow, I can do something here. What's the next step then to turn it into something tangible?
Well, the first step is actually to be doing some type of prototypes or prototypes. Basically, these are just really, really low-cost ways of testing out what you believe the product to be. And here's why this is important. It might sound like a little bit of a tangent, but there's something called confirmation bias, which basically means when we believe in something strongly, the brain filters out evidence that will be counter to our beliefs. And so we see this in politics. If we're on whatever side of the aisle in politics, we will automatically disprove whatever the other aisle is saying. The same thing happens with product development. We get attached to our ideas, and we don't see the negative feedback that we get about our products. We only see the positive feedback. So you really have to do experiments. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of money bringing something to market that actually could be a complete failure. So you want to experiment, test your hypotheses, and be really good at making sure that you're open to feedback that is negative.
That is huge, what you just said right there. I'm having visions of a lot of different people that I know, myself included, where, we create something or launch it or put it out there in a big way, and we go for it. And then all of a sudden we're like, why isn't it working? And we never really ask anyone else's opinion. We were just so sure that it was right in its first iteration that we never really returned back to tweak it to make it what it needs to be. I think that's pretty important. So what would you say to people who are wanting to get an idea out there, want to be different, want to innovate, can you give them like one or two practical steps they can do today?
I think the first thing would be to just really take a look at what makes you uniquely you. We are in a society where for some reason we believe that because Kim Kardashian is doing something, we should do what she's doing. That's crazy. What we need to do is actually take stock of what we do best. Don't try to fit in. Try to be able to do, where you excel. And then really look at the market and don't look for, hey, this would be great. Actually look for pains. This is what info marketers know really, really well, is they don't sell you, this is a great idea. Usually what they'll do, if you look at any of the infomercials on TV, they're always like, are you tired of trying to whatever? Find the problems that people have where there hasn't been a solution and see how your expertise will solve that problem. That, to me, is a great 1-2 punch.
Absolutely. Steve Shapiro, author of many books, including Goal-Free Living, The Little Book of Big Innovation Ideas, Personality Poker, and Best Practices Are Stupid. Thanks for being here with me on The Ripple Effect.
It was my pleasure.
Awesome. And to all of you, if you were inspired by something you heard on this program, all it word, one sentence, or one thought to completely transform your life. All that's needed is for you to take action on that idea. So together, let's make an impact and start a ripple. I'm your host, Kristen White. I'll see you next time. If you were inspired by some of the ideas on this program, all it takes is one word, one thought, or one idea to transform your life. All that's needed from you is to take action. When you shift yourself, you shift your community. So together, we can make an impact and let's start a ripple effect. I'm your host, Kristen White, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to The Ripple Effect. Together, we can impact the planet in powerful ways. The first easy step is to subscribe to this podcast to receive new inspiration from our thought-provoking guests every week. Visit therippleshow.com to subscribe now. Again, that's therippleshow.com. The Ripple Effect is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.